Okay, go.
We have mixed here 8 cups of bread flour, a teaspoon of instant yeast, and a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to add warm water and approximately 3 cups, or maybe just a little more than 3 cups. You can turn it on. Okay. Once the dough reaches to certain consistency, like this, then we can go ahead and clean up the wooden spoon and use our hand just to make sure there is no dry flour left. You can see the consistency is somewhat soft, but not as soft. It's not running, so we just make sure there is absolutely no dry flour in this, and all we have to do now is to put a little bit of oil on the bottom of this pot and rub a little oil on the top of the dough and cover it up until tomorrow when we get back to it. So for right now, the only thing I'm going to do is to put some oil on the bottom, oil on the top, just a few drops to prevent it from drying, and put the cover on. And this is the cover. We just put it like that, and we're done until tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow. Okay, upon request, I was told to go ahead and show you guys how to put the oil.
How much? Yeah.
With just a few drops. This is a vegetable oil, canola oil, or any other oil, but I do not use olive oil for this purpose, even though we can use olive oil for some other bread. So we rub the dough on the bottom to get the oil, and then we will go ahead and turn it over so both sides of this dough has been oiled. And maybe I put just a few more drops on the top. Make sure it does not dry up. Okay. Here, that's pretty much how it looks. Again, this is the consistency. It took approximately a little over 3.5 cups of water for 8 cups of flour, and as I said, maybe a teaspoon of instant yeast and a tablespoon of salt. If you enjoy a little more saltier bread, then you can go ahead and add more salt to your taste. Okay, now that we are done with the oiling on the top and the bottom, and we are going to put the cover, and we're going to put it at the room temperature until tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning we go ahead and show you the rest of the process, which is a little more complex than what we had to do tonight. So even though it's a 2-day process, this process only takes a few minutes, but tomorrow is a little longer. Thank you. All right, it's tomorrow morning from last night, and we have allowed our dough to rise at the room temperature, which is about 75 degrees, and if you can see, it's all nice and bubbly. It has risen quite a bit. It's almost double in size, maybe a little more than double. And you can see all of the gases, the carbon dioxide that have accumulated. And what we are doing here, we're not getting a lot of kneading because we allow the bacteria to work out the dough, and we do not need to do a lot of kneading. Now, what I would do, without really pushing too much and getting all of the air and gases out, slowly remove the dough and put it on this. I have a metal sheet with a little flour on it, and we'll put the dough on that, and then we can work on the dough. Here we go. All right, we are going to put a little bit of flour on the top, kind of work it out a little bit without pushing too much to get all the gas out. And what I intend to do is to make this into 4 baguette. I can make this into 6 baguette, but it becomes really thin. So this way we would have a little bigger, wider baguette, and I think it would look really nice and it would be a lot better. So in order to cut that, and we don't want to have a lot of the dough stick to the knife, so what I would do, I will wet the knife with cold water. And you can do that at several times. I will go ahead and cut the dough into 2 first. Just push it so it can separate nicely. Here we go. And we can go ahead and do the same thing. Okay, now we have our 4 sections. Honey. Okay. All right, we have divided our dough into 4 pieces, and I will get each piece separately. Try not to work out a lot with the dough and capture all of the gases inside the dough. Okay, there we are. Now what I will do, I will go ahead and form it slowly into a baguette shape, like a boat. And don't do it yet. Okay, we have divided the dough into 4 pieces. Now I have put a plastic on the bottom, and this is just a simple tablecloth that I use, but you can get fancy and buy some pooch that is for bakery, but I'm just using a tablecloth. Put some flour on it, and I have already made 2 of the baguettes, and here I can show you how that was done. Little flour on the bottom, and go ahead and make this into basically a rectangle. approximately 4 inches by 8 inches. Okay, now I would like very close attention to what we're doing here, because this step is extremely important, because we are encapsulating and keeping as much air into this dough, so when it rises we get all those big nice holes in our bread. Now that we have spread our dough, I would like to show you. We turn the dough one quarter over, and push the edges down, and you can see all these airs and bubbles are still there. And then we do the same thing on the other side. We bring that one back and push that down, and back again all the way, encapsulate all the air inside. Now we'll bring this part over the second part, and now as we do that, we will squeeze the edge on the top of each other to tie them together. So you can see we have air here, we have air here, and we are going to have air in this packet. We will continue until we're done. Now to make sure, okay. All right, now that we have put our hand and tied this really good, and so it would not open, we go ahead and start moving this a little bit, trying to make it as long, but make sure please that make your baguette the right size for your oven, because if it's too long it would not fit. So I go ahead and make these two ends really tight and close, and I make it narrow to look exactly like commercial baguette, make them nice. And then what we will do, we will go ahead and put the seam side up in our pouch. And the reason for that is, when we want to put it in the oven, we'll flip it over, so that way we know exactly where the seam is, and the other side will be the top side of our bread. We'll bring this closer, and now we'll repeat this for the last piece, and then I will show you what we will do. We will let this rest, we will cover it up for about an hour, and then after an hour I'll be back.